Hiya folks, how's it going? My name is Lexi and I really love tabletop role-playing games. So much so that we sit down together once a week, every week, here at the gaming table and we review one together. I try to keep these videos on the shorter side, under 10 minutes, so we can both find our next game. If that sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to press subscribe and keep watching. If you would like to go the extra special mile for the gaming table, there is a link to my Ko-Fi page in the description box where you can make a donation. I put a small thank you at every single donation goes straight back to the channel to assist with the running. Every single donation goes straight back to assist with the running costs of the channel, so it is deeply appreciated. Of course, please don't feel like you need to make a donation. I really do appreciate having you all here discussing games with me. Today we are taking a look at a game that has a really big presence in the tabletop gaming world. I don't know if it's necessarily the biggest role-playing game, but its wargame counterpart is certainly very well known. Today we are taking a look at Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay from Cubicle 7. Warhammer is a massive piece of media. Most people are familiar with the tabletop war game, but there's multiple war games within that war game set in different places and time frames. This book is a fantasy setting with kind of a Renaissance Italy-Europe vibe. Frankly, I feel like providing a summary of the setting for Warhammer Fantasy is an overwhelming task and I feel like I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna do my best. This core book is set in an empire. Once upon a time, long ago, there was a man called Sigmar who established this empire. He has since ascended to godhood. In the present day of this manual, Karl Franz is overlooking the empire. Those loyal to the empire say it is a wondrous place of prosperity and equity. Anyone else who lives in reality would tell you that it is otherwise. There are so many different deities, factions, and societies that are included in this setting. It's very rich and intimidating. There are multiple places that are part of the empire which get a mention in this game manual, but they tend to stick to one geographical region. There are supplements where you can explore more of the empire and specific parts of this strange world. I would suggest if you're getting yourself ready to run a game of Warhammer Fantasy, that you have a nice relaxing afternoon and a cup of tea or something while you read through the book. I think the game is actually a little bit more approachable for the player characters. The way the game manual is set up, the player characters are designed to start at a low level, and a lot of these characters come from the lower socioeconomic parts of this world. It feels like the case that your group could start out from a small village and approach the world bit by bit. The game definitely has a feeling that your characters can start out naive and learn more as they explore. I think there's a couple of options for types of games you could run using Warhammer Fantasy. There's options for dungeon dwelling, maybe some urban crawls, and probably some criminal enterprises. A lot of the player character backgrounds have a bit of a seedy underbelly element to them. Frankly, it would be the most surprising thing if an entire party of Warhammer Fantasy characters were do-gooding altruists. This game uses D100 dice with a percentile system. When a character comes up against something they need to overcome, they choose an appropriate skill or stat in consultation with the game master and roll their percentile dice. They want to roll under their score because that means they've succeeded. This is just a basic test. For something a little bit more, I guess, intense, there are dramatic tests. This time when the player rolls the D100, there are degrees of success. Depending on how low the die rolls, it could be a roaring success for the character, but if they roll really far over their score, it could have some negative consequences for them. and various shades of grey in between. There are also extended tests and opposed tests which all use the D100 as their basic guiding principle. For example, the D100 is used during combat. If your character's doing a melee attack, it's an opposed roll, whereas an attack with a ranged weapon like a bow is called a range test. and you roll a relevant weapon skill to then see if you manage to meet your skill score. Once you've worked out if you have hit your opponent, then you calculate damage and any other effects. Of course, in a fantasy game, there is going to be magic. There's 8 schools of lore that are commonly practiced in the world of Warhammer Fantasy, but there are actually more ancient or secretive magic laws that your characters could come up against. To use magic, the character needs to make a D100 test, and depending on the type of spell, succeeding might also give them additional effects if there's that possibility. Sometimes though, if magic goes wrong, there could be negative consequences. There's a really fun table that can be rolled on to see what magical mishaps could happen. Statistically, if you use the randomized character creation process, it's most likely that your character will be a human. This works really well for the setting. Humans in this world are on the ascent, whereas your elves and dwarves are dwindling in numbers and retreating further and further away. There are so many mechanics in this game manual, I feel overwhelmed and like I'm rushing through them. I'm having to cherry pick and kind of do a bit of a highlights reel. One of the last little ones I want to mention is the corruption system. As your characters encounter danger and dark forces, there is a chance that they could start to influence and take over your character's persuasions. This influence is tracked using corruption points. If you get too many of them, your character will be changed physically or mentally, or both. If your character undergoes too much corruption, they will succumb to the darkness and perish. That's when you're going to have to make a new character for the game. I was honestly kind of surprised how funny this game manual is. There are moments where this grim, dark story goes to such extremes that it loops back round into being absurdly funny, which is a tone I can really appreciate and get behind. This edition of Warhammer Fantasy has been in circulation for 7 years. I think that says something about the success of the game. Though who knows, maybe they'll announce a new edition tomorrow and I will be wrong. If you are a fan of grimdark fantasy, then I imagine you've encountered Warhammer Fantasy before. If you haven't, well then I definitely would suggest picking this game up. I wouldn't be suggesting this game for everyone. That grimdark tone gets strong in some places. This manual retails for around $49.99 US through the Cubicle 7 website. I imagine though if you want to explore more places in the Empire, you'll probably want to reach for a supplement. So those were my thoughts about Warhammer Fantasy 4th Edition from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. Is this one of your staple games? What do you think of the randomized character creation process? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about those questions or any of your thoughts about the game. I'd love to hear what you think of this game. It's been around for so long, I'm sure there's lots of people with fascinating stories about their campaigns. While you're there discussing the game, I encourage you to like this video and perhaps even share it with a friend who might find it interesting or have their own story to share. If you want to keep up with the gaming table, you can subscribe and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube is supposed to tell you when I've next uploaded a video. If you'd like to do something really special for the channel, there's a link to my Ko-Fi page where you can make a donation to the channel. Every single donation goes straight back to the channel costs, so it is really appreciated. If you do make a donation, please feel free to let me know if you would like me to mention you in a short little thank you, and by what name. Or you don't have to. Please don't feel obliged to donate, I just appreciate having your company and discussing these games with me. All that interaction that you folks do really helps people find out about the channel, which helps me feel a bit encouraged about making all these videos. I want to thank you all again for watching and discussing Warhammer Fantasy roleplay with me. I hope you're all well, and I look forward to seeing you next time at the gaming table. Bye!